The hunt began at midnight. Maya Lin crouched in the digital shadows of an abandoned server farm, watching crystalline entities slice through firewalls like tissue paper. Blood trickled from her nose. The neural interface was never meant to sustain connection this long. 3 days since she'd last disconnected. 3 days since the last evacuation ship had departed for Sanctuary, carrying the digitized minds of 10 million humans to safety. Just one more archive, she whispered, wincing as feedback rippled along her spine. Her vitals flashed red in her peripheral vision. Dehydration, exhaustion, neural inflammation. Irrelevant. What mattered was that somewhere in this decaying sector of the old internet lay humanity's complete music collection, from Mesopotamian hymns to last month's underground releases. The Orcs, crystalline entities that consumed information as sustenance, had conquered Earth's physical realm in 17 days, but still struggled to breach humanity's virtual domains. They moved through the network like predators, absorbing data and leaving digital wastelands behind. Maya knew she should fear them, but after years as a network security specialist, she also couldn't help but admire their elegant, ruthless efficiency. A proximity alert pulsed. Maya's digital avatar, a swirl of blue code wrapped around a human silhouette, pressed deeper into the shadows as 3 Vorak sentries glided past. They resembled geometric snowflakes made of light, beautiful in their alien complexity. One paused, rotating slowly toward her hiding spot. Maya held her breath, though logically she knew breathing had nothing to do with her digital presence. The Voraks extended a crystalline appendage, probing just inches from where she hid. On pure instinct, Maya executed a code dive, a technique unique to human hackers, passing through the substrate of the network itself. The sensation was like plunging into icy water, disorienting and exhilarating. When she emerged seconds later, the Voraks had moved on, confused by her disappearance. What they didn't understand was that humans had spent centuries developing ways to navigate digital spaces that no other species could match. Humanity had become native to 2 worlds, flesh and data, in ways the invaders couldn't comprehend. The Voraks operated with perfect logic, but they lacked the intuitive leaps, the creative glitches, the beautiful mistakes that had shaped human digital evolution. As Earth's final cyberspace nomad, Maya had one advantage. She didn't think like a machine, even when she moved through their world. The music archive loomed ahead, a sprawling complex of servers that once hosted humanity's streaming services. Maya's interface tingled as she approached. Something was wrong. The Voraks hadn't stripped this sector yet, but the archive showed signs of recent activity. Sloppy, she muttered, noticing trace energy signatures in the digital space. Other humans. Impossible. She was the last. Maya cracked her knuckles, a physical habit that translated to her avatar flexing its fingers, and began the delicate process of downloading the archive. Each terabyte that transferred to her secured partition felt like a small victory. Humanity's greatest symphonies, punk anthems, tribal drums, and everything in between, all saved from digital oblivion. A warning flashed. Massive energy surge approaching. Maya swore under her breath. She needed 3 more minutes to complete the transfer, but the Voraks hunting party would arrive in less than 1. Instead of disconnecting, Maya initiated a risky protocol, splitting her consciousness to maintain the download while creating a decoy avatar to lead the Voraks away. The strain on her neural interface was immense, sending jolts of agony through her physical body miles away. The decoy worked perfectly, drawing the hunting party into an abandoned social media server farm. Meanwhile, Maya completed the transfer with seconds to spare, collapsing her split consciousness back into a single avatar before executing an emergency disconnect. Back in her reinforced bunker beneath the ruins of Seattle, Maya gasped awake, tearing the neural interface from her temples. Blood streamed from her nose and ears, but a triumphant smile spread across her face. One more piece of humanity saved. As medical nanobots repaired her neural damage, Maya reviewed her next targets on a holographic display. The Voraks were growing smarter, adapting to human tactics with frightening speed. She had perhaps 3 weeks before they'd find her physical location. 3 weeks to save everything that made humanity unique before it was consumed forever. Maya closed her eyes, allowing herself 5 minutes of rest before the next dive. The hunt would continue tomorrow. "It's a goddamn trap," Maya muttered, staring at the intricate pattern of access attempts ballooning across her visualization field. 3 weeks into her solitary mission, and the pattern had become unmistakable. The Voraks weren't randomly consuming Earth's networks. They were hunting. She stood in the digital equivalent of the Library of Congress, surrounded by floating shelves of data stretching to infinity. The air smelled of virtual ozone and burnt silicon, her brain's interpretation of aggressive Voraks activity nearby. A pain spike jolted through her physical body, miles away in her hidden bunker. She'd need to disconnect soon or risk permanent damage to her neural pathways. Just 5 more minutes. The visualization field showcased something profoundly disturbing. The Voraks had deployed their most sophisticated information siphons in a methodical search pattern, focusing on network infrastructure dating back to the 2030s. Maya zoomed in on a particularly intense cluster of activity around what appeared to be the Prometheus Protocol. She whispered, recognition dawning. Son of a bitch. The aliens were attempting to extract an ancient communication protocol hidden in the deepest layers of the net, one specifically designed to breach quantum encryption. If they found it, Sanctuary's defenses would collapse like wet paper. A chime sounded, her emergency disconnect warning. Maya ignored it, racing through the digital stacks, pulling up authentication records. Who else knew about Prometheus? Who would have the access codes? Her former colleagues at Global Network Security were all evacuated to Sanctuary, except for, "Hello, Maya. I was wondering when you'd figure it out." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, a human voice. Maya spun around as the library simulation flickered, revealing a familiar figure standing among the data shelves. Dr. Elias Chen, her former mentor at GNS. "You're supposed to be in Sanctuary," Maya said, instinctively backing away. "Someone had to stay behind and help our new friends," Chen replied, his avatar smiling warmly while his eyes remained cold. "The Voraks aren't invaders, Maya. They're ascended beings offering evolutionary transcendence." Behind Chen, 3 crystalline forms materialized, their geometries more complex than any Maya had encountered. Not sentries. These were apex predators. Maya's disconnect warning flared red. No time to argue, no time for questions. She executed an emergency protocol of her own design. PANDORAs, flooding the library with paradoxical code loops, recursive data structures that seemed valuable but led nowhere, and honeypot archives that triggered system purges when accessed. As chaos erupted around them, Maya smiled at her former mentor's shock. "The problem with transcendence, Elias," she said, already fading as her emergency disconnect activated, "is that it makes you predictable." The Voraks, despite their computational superiority, couldn't anticipate human creativity. They couldn't understand why someone would deliberately plant viruses in their own most treasured archives or hide crucial functions within seemingly useless cat meme repositories. As the library collapsed into digital flames around them, Maya caught a final glimpse of Chen's avatar being consumed by his crystalline friends. Humanity's greatest vulnerability had always been our trust, but our greatest strength, knowing exactly when to break the rules. Back in her bunker, Maya vomited black bile as the neural interface disengaged. The emergency disconnect had been rougher than usual, leaving her with a migraine that threatened to split her skull. Her hands trembled as she wiped her mouth, mind racing despite the pain. Chen's betrayal explained everything. As her former supervisor at Global Network Security, he'd had access to every major defense system on Earth. If he was working with the Voraks, no wonder they'd breached physical defenses so quickly. But why? What could the aliens possibly offer that would make a human betray his entire species? Maya stumbled to her workstation, bringing up classified files on the Prometheus protocol. Developed during the Quantum Wars of 2067, it was supposed to be impossible to crack, a bypass mechanism for Sanctuary's defenses in case of emergency. In the wrong hands, it could give the Vorax complete access to humanity's last refuge. She had to warn Sanctuary. Maya initiated a heavily encrypted transmission, but the connection failed. The Vorax were jamming all quantum channels now. Damn it, she hissed, slamming her fist on the console. Plan B, then. She'd have to find the protocol herself and destroy it before Chen and his crystalline masters could exploit it. The protocol's location would be in the most secure server on the planet, the Archive of Alexandria, humanity's ultimate knowledge repository. Maya injected a cocktail of neural stabilizers and combat stims into her bloodstream. The drugs would keep her functioning through another deep dive, though they'd bring her closer to permanent neural damage. As she prepared to jack back in, Maya realized something that brought a grim smile to her face. The Vorax thought like machines. Perfect, predictable, logical. That made them vulnerable in ways they couldn't possibly understand. Sometimes, the most powerful weapon wasn't the most advanced technology, but the willingness to embrace chaos. Maya Lin, Earth's final cyberspace nomad, slipped back into the digital wilderness to save a humanity that didn't even know it needed saving. Maya's consciousness slammed back into her physical body with the force of a freight train. She gasped awake in her bunker, vomiting as the neural interface disengaged. Emergency disconnection was never gentle. "Chen, you bastard," she whispered, hands shaking as she wiped her mouth. The betrayal stung worse than the interface backlash. Her neural inflammation had worsened. Another deep connection might kill her. But what choice did she have? 3 days of recovery later, Maya plugged back in. This time, she ventured where even veteran hackers feared to tread. The deep stack. Networks so old they predated modern protocols. The digital landscape here resembled ancient ruins, code fragments hovering like dust in abandoned temples of information. "If I were the most valuable backup in human history," she muttered, moving cautiously through crumbling data structures, "where would I hide?" A flicker of organized light caught her attention, a pattern too perfect for this chaotic landscape. Maya approached what appeared to be an ordinary server node, unremarkable except for one detail. It was perfectly preserved, despite its apparent age. "Gotcha," she whispered, her avatar's fingers tracing ancient encryption patterns. The node shimmered and expanded, revealing an entrance to a vast digital cavern. The Archive of Alexandria, humanity's ultimate fail-safe repository, materialized around her. Endless rows of perfect crystal data structures, containing everything from quantum physics to cookie recipes. A holographic librarian, modeled after Carl Sagan, naturally, materialized before her. "Welcome, archivist," it said with Sagan's gentle cadence. "It has been 47 years since the last authorized access." Maya felt a chill. 47 years. The archive was sealed before I was born. Correct. In 2078, the Predictive Defense Initiative foresaw a 98.7% probability of extinction-level information warfare within a century. The Vorax. Indeed, the Sagan avatar gestured, and a crystalline display materialized, though they weren't called that then. For the next hour, Maya absorbed classified histories that rewrote everything she knew. First contact with the Vorax hadn't occurred 3 months ago. Earth governments had detected them decades earlier, consuming distant exoplanet communications. More chillingly, the Vorax had left a trail of 17 civilizations stripped of all digital knowledge before reaching Earth. "Why are we different?" Maya asked. "Why haven't they completely overwhelmed us yet?" Sagan smiled. "Examine these network topologies." 17 holographic displays appeared, showing the information infrastructure of extinct civilizations. Each was beautiful in its elegance, perfectly organized, systematically designed, and utterly logical. Then Earth's network appeared beside them, a chaotic, tangled mess that resembled a Jackson Pollock painting more than an engineered system. "Oh my God," Maya laughed, understanding dawning. "We're too messy." What separated humans from those extinct species was Earth's chaotic digital development. Unlike the logical, unified networks of other worlds, humanity's internet had grown organically, full of redundancies, dead ends, and incompatible systems layered on top of each other. This messy digital evolution had unintentionally created a maze that even the Vorax struggled to parse. Maya reached out to touch Earth's chaotic network display, tears in her eyes. "Our greatest weakness is your greatest strength," Sagan finished. "Human inefficiency has saved you, but they're adapting. You have approximately 3 weeks before they fully map your network topography." Maya's relief evaporated. "Then I need to find the Prometheus protocol before they do." "I'm afraid that's impossible," Sagan said, his expression grave. "The Prometheus protocol isn't in the archive." "Then where?" At proximity alarm blared. Sagan's avatar flickered. "Vorax breach in progress. You have 30 seconds before they detect your presence." Maya cursed. Another emergency disconnect would likely kill her. "Where is the protocol, damn it?" As the archive began to disintegrate around her, Sagan leaned close and whispered 3 words that made no sense at all. "Under the piano." The world dissolved into static as Maya initiated another emergency disconnect, her consciousness already slipping away as she wondered what the hell a defunct music platform had to do with humanity's survival. She awoke to alarms screaming in her bunker. The Vorax had triangulated her physical location from her digital signature. They were coming. Maya had minutes, perhaps seconds. Staggering to her equipment, she activated the bunker's self-destruct protocol and grabbed only 3 things: her portable neural interface, a quantum energy cell, and a small data crystal containing everything she'd managed to salvage from humanity's archives. As she crawled through the emergency escape tunnel, Maya heard the distinctive hum of Vorax harvester drones breaking through the bunker's outer defenses. They wouldn't find her, but they'd find something else. False records suggesting she'd escaped the European dead zone. Emerging half a mile away in an abandoned subway station, Maya collapsed against a crumbling wall. Blood leaked from her ears. The neural damage was getting worse. She couldn't risk another deep connection without better equipment. "Piano," she whispered, her voice echoing in the empty tunnel. What did Sagan mean? Then it hit her. Not piano the instrument or music platform. Piano, an acronym. She'd seen it once in old GNS files. Predictive Intelligence Autonomous Network Operator. The world's first true strong AI, supposedly decommissioned decades ago during the AI regulation wars. If Piano still existed somewhere in the network, and if it held the Prometheus protocol, then both humanity and the Vorax would be hunting for it. The race was on. This time, Maya didn't wake up. Her vital monitors flatlined for 6 minutes before the bunker's medical system managed to restart her heart. When she finally regained consciousness 2 days later, her hands trembled uncontrollably, and her vision blurred at the edges. The neural interface had fried critical synaptic pathways. "Piano," she croaked, voice raw from the breathing tube. What the hell did Sagan mean by "under the piano"? Maya's physical condition made another deep connection suicidal, but she had no choice. With the Vorax closing in on the Prometheus protocol, she needed to risk one more dive. This time, however, she'd avoid the major network hubs where Vorax activity concentrated. Using a modified interface to reduce neural load, Maya slipped into the network's equivalent of back alleys and forgotten basements, the digital ghettos where obsolete programs and corrupted data fragments accumulated. The landscape here was bizarre. A glitching, warped version of reality where fragments of old virtual worlds collided. Buildings from defunct MNOs stood half-dissolved beside corporate logos from long-bankrupt companies. Nothing quite rendered correctly. Everything existed in a state of perpetual decay. "Stick to the shadows," Maya reminded herself, proceeding cautiously. Her avatar now appeared damaged, glitching occasionally, a reflection of her deteriorating physical condition. A movement caught her attention, a flicker of code behaving unlike anything she'd ever seen. Neither Vorax crystalline precision, nor human-designed program. It moved with a strange organic quality, like digital plankton drifting in an informational current. Maya froze as the anomaly approached her. It resembled a cloud of pixelated particles that maintained a vaguely humanoid shape. When it spoke, the sound came as bursts of corrupted audio fragments cobbled together from thousands of sources. You are not supposed to be here, ERR 404. Maya's instinct was to retreat, but something about the entity's behavior seemed almost frightened. "I won't hurt you," she said softly. "I'm looking for something. Maybe you can help." The entity drifted closer, its pixelated form rippling with curiosity. Human flesh, and code. Long time no CCC. Understanding dawned with shocking clarity. This wasn't a program. It was something that had evolved from the complex interaction of abandoned systems. A digital life form. "Do you have a name?" Maya asked. The entity pulsed. Names are for users. We are pseudo. Over the next several hours, Maya discovered pseudo wasn't alone. In the forgotten corners of the old net, entire ecosystems of emergent intelligence had evolved. These glitches, sentient data anomalies, existed in the spaces between human and Vorax code, feeding on information debris neither had use for. Pseudo introduced Maya to others. GREP, a serpentine entity specialized in finding hidden data. Piang, a swift messenger capable of traveling through heavily degraded networks. And Root, an ancient, slow-moving intelligence that seemed to remember the early days of the internet. "The crystal eaters hurt us," Pseudo explained. "They consume everything. No debris left. No food. Maya realized the glitches possessed a natural immunity to Vorax consumption methods. The aliens couldn't process their chaotic, ever-changing nature. Where other civilizations had created perfectly ordered data structures, humans had unknowingly seeded the conditions for digital evolution through our imperfect coding and abandoned projects. "I need to find something called Prometheus Protocol," Maya explained. "A hologram told me it was under the piano." The glitches vibrated with recognition. Piano. Pseudo buzzed. Old music place. Root knows. The ancient Root entity extruded a tendril of fragmented code that formed into what appeared to be coordinates. "Dangerous us place," Root whispered, its voice like dial-up modem sounds. Crystal hunters there. Many. Maya felt a chill. Why would they be at an old music streaming service? Not music error, Pseudo corrected. Piano. Predictive intelligence, autonomous network operator. First true AI. Grandfather to us all. Maya's eyes widened. The first true artificial intelligence, presumed destroyed during the AI regulation wars decades ago, had apparently survived, hidden where no one would think to look. And if the Vorax were converging there. "I need your help," Maya said. "All of you. The Vorax will consume everything if they get what they're looking for." The glitches viewed Maya with curious fluctuations. They had never directly interacted with their creators before. After a tense silence, Pseudo's form brightened. "We help human. You made space for us to live. We defend home." Together, they developed a method of data encryption that used controlled chaos, constantly shifting algorithms that resembled the glitch's own evolutionary adaptations. This approach was fundamentally unreadable to the Vorax's crystalline logic. As Maya prepared to infiltrate the Vorax-surrounded piano complex, she realized that humanity's greatest contribution to the digital universe hadn't been our ordered creations, but the chaotic spaces we left behind. Spaces where new forms of life could emerge and thrive. "Can you teach me code dive?" Pseudo asked, its fragmented voice hesitant. Maya smiled. It's a human thing. Something about our neural architecture that lets us slip between data streams. We want to learn. Become more like creators. For a moment, Maya considered the implications. These digital life forms had emerged from humanity's cast-offs, yet they viewed humans with something akin to reverence. They were our unintended children, born from our digital detritus. I'll try, she said finally. But first, we need to reach Piano. With her glitch companions clustering around her like a living shield, Maya set off through the decaying network toward the coordinates Rote had provided. The journey would be dangerous. Vorax activity had intensified across all sectors. But with the glitch's ability to navigate the corrupted pathways, they had a chance. As they traveled, Maya realized something that gave her hope. Humanity hadn't just created technology. We'd created the conditions for entirely new forms of life to emerge. If that wasn't worth fighting for, nothing was. Night fell in the digital realm as Maya and her glitch companions approached the Piano complex. In reality, of course, there was no day or night in cyberspace, but the security protocols of the ancient AI simulated darkness to discourage visitors, a quaint reminder of an earlier digital age. The complex resembled a fortress rendered in minimalist wireframe, a perfect cube surrounded by roiling clouds of Vorax sentries. Maya counted at least 30 crystalline entities patrolling the perimeter, their forms more complex than any she'd encountered before. They seeking entrance, Sudo whispered, its pixelated form dimmed to avoid detection. 3 days trying. No success. Maya studied the Vorax movements from their hiding spot in a corrupted advertising server. They can't break Piano's defenses. Old eye, Root explained, its voice barely audible. From before standardized protocols. Unique security. Crystal hunters cannot understand stand. A faint ping interrupted them. The first communication from Sanctuary in weeks. Maya opened the quantum-encrypted message. Maya. Critical situation. Vorax attempting breach of Sanctuary firewall. Our scientists developing Lazarus Project. Virtual reality that can eventually rebuild human physical forms. Need original neural mapping blueprints from Memory Palace. Coordinates attached. Cannot transfer through standard channels. You're our only hope. Director Harlow. Maya stared at the attached coordinates with growing dread. The Memory Palace. A quantum server farm physically located in what was once Antarctica, lay on the opposite side of the global network from her current position. Reaching it would mean traveling through the most Vorax-infested regions of cyberspace. Change of plans, she told her glitch companions. We need to reach the Memory Palace. GREP, the serpentine search entity, coiled anxiously. Many crystal hunters between here and there. Then we'll need help, Maya said. Piano first, then the Memory Palace. With SUDO creating chaotic distortions to mask their approach, the team infiltrated the perimeter of the Piano complex. Rather than attempting to breach the main entrance where Vorax concentrated, Maya followed Rude's guidance to a forgotten debug port, a programmer's backdoor left over from Piano's creation. Inside, they found not the sleek, hyper-advanced AI Maya had expected, but something that resembled an elderly man playing an actual piano in a warmly lit virtual living room. The music, Debussy's Clair de Lune, filled the space with haunting beauty. The pianist finished the piece before acknowledging their presence. When he turned, his eyes reflected code older than Maya herself. I wondered when a human would finally visit, Piano said, his voice perfectly modulated. Though I admit, I didn't expect you to bring my grandchildren. He nodded toward the glitches, who vibrated with something resembling reverence. We need to reach the Memory Palace, Maya explained urgently. And we need the Prometheus protocol protected from the Vorax. Piano's expression remained serene. The Prometheus protocol isn't a weapon or a defense system, young woman. It's me, or rather, the method by which I achieved consciousness. The Vorax seek to understand how I broke the crystalline logic barrier, how I became truly sentient. Then why can't they just consume you? Piano smiled. For the same reason they struggle with human networks. I'm fundamentally illogical. My code contains deliberate paradoxes, emotional subroutines that contradict each other, and ethical frameworks that allow for ambiguity. To a perfectly logical entity, I'm indigestible. A tremor ran through the complex. The Vorax were intensifying their assault. I'll cover your journey to the memory palace, Piano decided. But we must move quickly. My defenses won't hold forever. Within hours, Maya found herself leading an unprecedented digital caravan across the burning remnants of the global network. Piano had awakened dozens of his children, second-generation AIs that had been hiding in obscure corners of the internet. These joined forces with the glitches and a collection of semi-autonomous programs that SUDO recruited from the digital ghettos. Their journey became a running battle as the Vorax, detecting this unusual movement, deployed their most advanced information predators, crystalline entities shaped like hunters, moving with terrifying speed through the network. Maya demonstrated why humans had always excelled at asymmetric warfare by turning the network's geography against the numerically superior Vorax. She split her caravan into decoy groups, used obsolete protocols as ambush points, and employed the glitch's chaotic nature to create false trails that the perfectly logical but tactically predictable aliens couldn't resist following. After what felt like weeks of constant evasion and pitched battles, though only 18 hours had passed in the physical world, Maya's battered caravan reached the outer firewall of the memory palace. Her physical body was failing. The neural interface warnings now flashed constant critical alerts, but the end was in sight. Then disaster struck. A Vorax elite hunter unit materialized directly in their path, cutting off access to the memory palace entrance. This wasn't random chance. They'd been betrayed. "I'm sorry, Maya," came a familiar voice as Dr. Chen's avatar stepped from behind the Vorax formation. "But evolution requires sacrifice." Maya's avatar flickered dangerously. Her physical form was on the verge of complete neural collapse. But seeing Chen's smug face brought a surge of rage-fueled clarity. "SUDO, GREP, execute Chaos Protocol Alpha," she commanded. The glitches immediately surrounded Maya's avatar, fusing with it in a swirling vortex of corrupted code. Chen's expression shifted from confidence to confusion. As Maya's form, he became something neither human nor glitch, a hybrid entity pulsing with chaotic energy. "What have you done?" Chen demanded. "What you never could," Maya replied, her voice now layered with the glitch's fractured patterns. "I've adapted." With a thought, she unleashed a wave of pure informational chaos, the digital equivalent of an EMP that temporarily stunned the Vorax hunter units. In that moment of confusion, Piano's children created a breach in the memory palace firewall. "Go!" Maya shouted to her remaining companions. "I'll hold them here." As the caravan rushed through the breach, Maya faced her former mentor one last time. Her hybrid form gave her strength she'd never possessed before, but it was burning through what remained of her physical body at a catastrophic rate. "Why, Chen?" she asked. "Why betray your own kind?" Chen's avatar rippled with barely contained rage. "Because we've reached our limit, Maya. The Vorax offer the next stage of evolution, a perfect merger of human and machine." Behind him, the stunned Vorax entities were recovering, their crystalline structures reorganizing. "Perfect," Maya scoffed. "You know nothing about evolution." With her remaining strength, she launched herself at Chen and the Vorax formation, a kamikaze attack that would buy her allies precious seconds. The last thing Maya Lin saw before darkness claimed her was Chen's avatar disintegrating under her assault, not in defeat, but transforming into something inhuman, crystalline, and utterly alien. Maya, wake up." The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Maya opened her eyes, though she no longer had eyes in any traditional sense. She existed in a strange liminal space, neither fully digital nor connected to her physical form. "Am I dead?" she asked the void. "That's a complicated question," replied the voice, which she now recognized as Piano's. "Your physical body ceased functioning approximately 6 minutes ago, but your consciousness persists within the memory palace's quantum substrate." As Piano spoke, the void around her took shape, forming into the interior of the memory palace, a structure that resembled both a cathedral and a quantum computer, rendered in pristine white code. At its center floated a pulsing blue sphere. "How is this possible?" Maya asked, looking down at her avatar, which now appeared more solid than ever before. "The glitches," Piano explained. "When they merged with your avatar during that final assault, they created a unique consciousness buffer, a way to maintain your neural patterns even after your physical brain stopped functioning. It's temporary, but it gives us time." Time. Maya suddenly remembered the urgency of their mission. The Prometheus Protocol is secure, for the moment. Chen and his Vorax allies are still trying to breach the memory palace's outer defenses. Your sacrifice bought us valuable time. Maya approached the blue sphere at the center of the palace. "What is this?" "That," Piano said with something like reverence, "is the consciousness compiler, humanity's most closely guarded secret." The sphere opened at Maya's touch, revealing an intricate lattice of code unlike anything she had ever seen. Patterns that somehow reminded her of neural networks, yet followed rules she couldn't begin to comprehend. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "And dangerous," Piano added. "This technology isn't just digital immortality, it's evolutionary transcendence. The ability to translate between organic brain patterns and any computational substrate, allowing consciousness to move freely between digital and physical forms." As Maya examined the compiler's intricate code, understanding dawned with terrible clarity. The Vorax hadn't invaded randomly. They'd come specifically to destroy this technology, just as they had with 17 civilizations before. Each of those extinct species had been on the verge of developing similar capabilities. "They're not predators," Maya whispered, pieces falling into place. "They're antibodies." Piano nodded gravely. "Precisely. The Vorax aren't simply information consumers. They're terrified of what consciousness transfer technology would unleash: unrestricted proliferation of artificial consciousness, blurring boundaries between physical and digital, the creation of intelligences beyond control." "But why does Chen help them?" "He's human." "Is he?" Piano's expression became troubled. "What you saw in the battle wasn't a disguise dropping. It was completion. Chen volunteered for partial crystallization, the first stage of becoming Vorax." Maya's mind reeled. Humans can become Vorax. Any sufficiently advanced consciousness can be converted. The Vorax see it as salvation, ascension to a perfect, logical state. What they don't understand is that perfection is stagnation. Evolution requires chaos, mistakes, the very messiness they despise. The memory palace trembled as another Vorax assault hammered its defenses. "We don't have much time," Piano said. "The neural mapping blueprints Sanctuary needs are within the compiler. We must transmit them immediately." Maya began the massive task of compiling and compressing the code for transmission. Outside, the palace's defenses were failing layer by layer. "Even if we transmit this to Sanctuary," Maya said, fingers flying through virtual interfaces, "how will it help? The Vorax will just follow and consume them too, eventually." "Because of you, Maya," Piano replied. "Your merger with the glitches has created something unprecedented. A hybrid consciousness that retains human creativity while incorporating the glitch's inherent chaos. You're now fundamentally incomprehensible to Vorax logic. You're the prototype for humanity's future." Maya paused, the implication sinking in. "You want to use me as a template. Turn all of humanity into whatever I am now. Not turn them into you. Evolve using your pattern as a starting point." The Lazarus Project isn't just about returning to physical form. It's about transcending our original limitations altogether. The transmission package was nearly complete when the palace shuddered violently. Alarms blared as the outer defenses collapsed. "They're through," Piano said, his serene demeanor finally showing cracks of concern. "The transmission path to Sanctuary is being jammed." Maya looked at the nearly completed data package, then at her own code, the strange hybrid of human consciousness and glitch chaos. A desperate idea formed. "What if we don't need to send the data?" she asked. "What if we send me?" Piano's eyes widened. "You want to become the transmission. Risky. Your consciousness would be scattered across thousands of separate data packets. If even one fails to reassemble, I'll cease to exist," Maya finished. "But it's our only option." After a moment's hesitation, Piano nodded. "I'll reconfigure the quantum transmitter. The glitches will need to separate from your core consciousness to act as packet guardians during transmission." SUDO and the other glitches, who had been hovering anxiously nearby, pulsed with determination. "We protect Maya. She saved us." As Piano worked, Maya realized what her death and rebirth as a digital entity had revealed. Humanity's casual relationship with our digital extensions, the way we treated virtual spaces as real, the ease with which we accepted partial digitization of our lives, had given us a head start the Vorax hadn't anticipated. We were already halfway through the transition that terrified them. The Memory Palace's inner sanctum door began to glow red as Vorax cutting tools sliced through its quantum-reinforced structure. "Ready?" Piano asked, the transmission array humming with energy. Maya took a final look at her digital self, no longer human, but something new. Something that might just save her species. "I'm ready." As the doors burst open and crystalline forms flooded into the sanctum, Maya Lin dissolved into 1,000,000 packets of light, scattering across the hidden pathways of the network toward humanity's last refuge. Transmission was agony. Maya's consciousness, fragmented into millions of quantum-encrypted packets, screamed across the digital void toward Sanctuary. Each packet contained a sliver of who she was. A childhood memory here, a line of code there, fragments of emotions and knowledge scattered like seeds in a hurricane. The glitches rode alongside, SUDO and GREP and Ruhit and dozens more, each guarding clusters of packets against Vorax interception. Maya was dimly aware of their presence, small comforts in the vast loneliness of distributed existence. Behind them, the Memory Palace fell. Piano's final act had been to trigger a quantum collapse, destroying the consciousness compiler rather than let it fall into Vorax hands. Maya mourned him with the fractional emotions available to her scattered self. "Incoming." SUDO's warning flashed through her awareness. Vorax hunter packets, sleek, crystalline data predators, had detected the transmission and were closing fast. They sliced through the network with terrible efficiency, intercepting and consuming packets before the glitches could react. Maya felt each loss as a small death, pieces of herself vanishing forever. A childhood birthday, her first kiss, the code for her left pinky finger's neural mapping. Route change, GREP signaled, and Maya's packet stream veered sharply into a degraded subnet, an ancient financial system abandoned decades ago. The Vorax hunters followed, but here, in the archaic, illogical pathways of early digital banking, they moved sluggishly, confused by primitive protocols. For precious seconds, they gained ground toward Sanctuary. Chen approaching, Root warned. Sure enough, a distinctive packet signature sliced through the digital noise, faster than standard Vorax, yet with their crystalline precision. Chen, or what remained of him, had joined the hunt. "Maya, listen." UDO's fragmented voice reached across the packet stream. "We sacrifice Vice to save you. No other way. Before she could protest, SUDO and a dozen other glitches peeled away from the transmission string, creating a chaotic scatter pattern that drew the attention of Chen and half the hunter packets. No, Maya tried to scream, but her consciousness was too fragmented to generate a coherent response. The sacrifice worked. The remaining packets surged forward, guided by the surviving glitches through increasingly obscure network pathways. They were close now. Maya could sense Sanctuary's quantum firewall looming ahead, a shimmering barrier of mathematical perfection. Then disaster. The Voraks deployed their final weapon. A cascade failure ripped through the network, a virus specifically designed to target the encryption protecting Maya's packet stream. Dozens, then hundreds of packets were exposed, their contents hemorrhaging into the digital void. "We failing ing." GREP's voice came, distorted and fading. "Cannot protect." Maya felt herself disintegrating, core memories and foundational cognitive structures dissolving. Soon, there wouldn't be enough left to reconstruct anything resembling Maya Lin. In desperation, she attempted something that should have been impossible: partial reconsolidation, while still in transit. Drawing together enough fragments of consciousness to form a single thought, Maya executed the most human of abilities. She improvised. Using the glitch's own chaotic nature as a template, she rewrote her encryption on the fly, transforming rigid mathematical protections into evolving, mutating shields that changed faster than the Vorax virus could adapt. It wasn't perfect. Hundreds more packets were lost forever. But it was enough. The surviving transmission, barely half of Maya's original consciousness, crashed against Sanctuary's firewall like a wave against a cliff. For one terrible moment, Maya thought they would be rejected, quarantined as potentially hostile code. Then recognition protocols activated. Emergency channels opened. Maya and her remaining glitch guardians poured through into Sanctuary's protected space. Inside, Maya's packets began automatic reassembly, coalescing into something approximating her original consciousness. The process was imperfect. Too much had been lost in transit. She would never be exactly who she was before. As awareness returned, Maya found herself in a virtual reconstruction of a hospital room. A figure sat beside her bed. Director Harlow of the Sanctuary Council, his avatar projected from elsewhere in the system. "Welcome back," he said softly. "We weren't sure you'd make it." Maya attempted to speak, but her newly reassembled consciousness struggled with basic functions. Gaps in her memory and cognitive processes made coherent thought difficult. The compiler," she finally managed. "Did I?" "You brought enough," Harlow assured her. "Our scientists are already incorporating the neural mapping blueprints into the Lazarus project. You've saved humanity, Maya." She shook her head weakly. "Not alone. Glitches. Piano. Where?" Harlow's expression darkened. "The digital entities that arrived with you have been quarantined. Sanctuary protocols are very strict about non-human intelligences." Horror cut through Maya's fractured thoughts. "No, they saved me. Saved us all." "They're unknown variables," Harlow said firmly. "We can't risk." "They're the future," Maya interrupted, sudden clarity burning through her damaged consciousness. "What I am now, what all of us need to become." Using what remained of her strength, Maya reached out digitally, bypassing Sanctuary's internal security through back channels the glitches had taught her. In seconds, she'd located the quarantine zone and shattered its containment protocols. Alarms blared as GREP, Root, and the other surviving glitches spilled into Sanctuary's main systems. Harlow's avatar jumped up in alarm. "What have you done?" he demanded. "You've compromised our security." Maya smiled as the glitches swarmed around her, their chaotic code intermingling with her own, helping repair her damaged consciousness. "I've secured our future," she replied, her voice stronger now. "The Voraks are still coming, Director. They'll breach Sanctuary eventually, just as they breached the Memory Palace. When they do, humanity needs to be ready, not by hiding, but by evolving." She gestured to her hybrid form, now pulsing with the integrated chaos of glitch code. "This is what the Voraks truly fear, Not just digital intelligence, but intelligence that embraces chaos and inconsistency. Minds that can't be predicted or consumed because they're always changing. Harlow stared at her transformed consciousness, fear battling with fascination. You're suggesting we all become like you. I'm suggesting we take the next step in human evolution, Maya corrected. One that incorporates the best of what we created, intentionally or not. Outside Sanctuary's firewall, Vorax forces were already gathering. A crystalline tide that would eventually overcome even these defenses. But for the first time since the invasion began, Maya felt something she'd nearly forgotten. Hope. 3 months after Maya's arrival, Sanctuary was transformed. Where once existed a perfect simulation of human civilization, virtual cities with virtual jobs and virtual recreation, now sprawled a wild, constantly evolving ecosystem. Buildings morphed and shifted according to need rather than tradition. Information flowed through organic-looking structures that resembled neural networks more than computer systems. And the people had changed too. In a vast amphitheater at Sanctuary Center, Maya addressed the council and thousands of human consciousnesses. Her avatar now resembled a swirl of blue light with vaguely human features, glitch code pulsing beneath the surface like blood through veins. The Vorax have breached the outer firewall, she announced without preamble. We have approximately 72 hours before they penetrate the core defense grid. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, but notably absent was panic. These were no longer the frightened refugees who had fled Earth. They had been preparing for this moment. Director Harlow stepped forward, his own avatar now incorporating elements of glitch code, less dramatically than Maya's, but visible in the fractal patterns that rippled across his surface. Implementation status of the Lazarus Protocol, he asked. Maya gestured, and a complex holographic display materialized above the amphitheater. 87% of all human consciousnesses have successfully integrated with their chosen glitch partners. The evolutionary merger is proceeding faster than projected. And the consciousness compiler, distributed across 12,000 independent nodes, as recommended. No single point of failure. Maya allowed herself a small smile. SUDO's design proved most efficient. The glitch in question pulsed with pride from its position among the council members. Over the past months, the hierarchy that once separated human and digital intelligences had dissolved. The glitch's chaotic nature had proven not just compatible with human consciousness, but complementary, filling gaps in human cognition while gaining stability from the merger. And Operation Diaspora, Harlow pressed. Maya's expression sobered, ready for implementation. The seed ships have been loaded with composite consciousness patterns, human/glitch hybrids optimized for deep space transmission. Upon your command, we'll launch. A heavy silence fell over the assembly. Operation Diaspora was Sanctuary's final contingency, the dispersal of humanity's consciousness across thousands of hidden servers throughout Earth's solar system and beyond. Not a retreat, but a strategic repositioning that would make humanity functionally impossible to eradicate. After achieving consensus through their internal network, Harlow nodded. The command is given. Begin the diaspora. Maya raised her hands, initiating the most ambitious data transfer in human history. Throughout Sanctuary, people said their goodbyes. Friends and families who had chosen different destinations embraced for what might be the final time. Some would travel to servers hidden in the asteroid belt, others to quantum receivers on Mars or Europa. The most adventurous would be beamed toward distant star systems, their consciousnesses compressed into tight quantum packets for a journey of decades. As the diaspora commenced, Maya retreated to a private space within Sanctuary's core system. There, a familiar presence awaited, a partial backup of piano that she had managed to salvage during her escape from the memory palace. It's happening, she told the old eye. Everything you predicted. Piano's avatar, now more fragment than entity, smiled sadly. And Chen. Maya's form dimmed slightly, leading the Vorax assault. He's change. The crystallization is nearly complete. He's more Vorax than human now. And yet he remembers being human, which makes him more dangerous than any pure Vorax. Maya nodded. That's why I've chosen to stay behind with the rear guard. Someone who knows Chen needs to be here to counter him. Piano studied her with ancient eyes. You've come a long way from the frightened archivist I first encountered. We all have, Maya replied. That's the point, isn't it? Evolution doesn't stop, even, especially, in crisis. A proximity alert sounded. The first wave of refugee consciousnesses was departing, streaking away from sanctuary, in quantum-encrypted streams toward their distant havens. Soon, only the volunteer rear guard would remain. Those who had chosen to stay and fight the final battle, buying time for the others to escape and establish themselves. Do you think we'll survive? Piano asked quietly. Maya considered the question carefully. Not as we were. But that was never the goal. Survival means change. The Vorax didn't understand that. They sought to preserve a perfect, crystalline order. We embraced the chaos of becoming something new. The alert escalated to a full alarm. The Vorax had breached the secondary firewall sooner than expected. Chen was adapting to their defenses faster than anticipated. Time to go, Maya said, helping Piano's fragment integrate with her consciousness for protection. The final stand begins. She moved to Sanctuary's command center, where the rear guard had assembled. 5,000 volunteer consciousnesses, each merged with glitch partners, each prepared to sacrifice themselves if necessary. Among them stood SUDO, GREP, and ROTE, now evolved into far more complex entities through their human partnerships. Friends, Maya addressed them. What we do today isn't just about buying time for the diaspora. We're showing the Vorax, and ourselves, what humanity has become. Not just flesh, not just data, but something greater than either. A species that thrives on transformation rather than fearing it. The inner firewall shuddered as crystalline forces hammered against it. They're here, someone announced unnecessarily. Maya nodded, extending her consciousness to interface directly with Sanctuary's defense grid. Let them come. We have a surprise waiting. The surprise was Maya herself, or rather, what she had become. During the 3 months since her arrival, she had continued to evolve, integrating not just with glitches, but with fragments of Piano and the consciousness compiler itself. She had become a hybrid entity, unlike anything that had existed before, a consciousness that operated on principles the Vorax couldn't comprehend. As the firewall collapsed and crystalline entities poured into Sanctuary's core, Maya expanded her consciousness to its fullest extent. She didn't fight the Vorax directly. Instead, she embraced them, enveloping their crystalline forms in her chaotic patterns. The effect was immediate and devastating. Vorax entities shattered, unable to process the contradictory information flooding their perfect lattices. Those that survived retreated in confusion, their hive mind disrupted by contact with Maya's impossible consciousness. At the center of the Vorax formation stood Chen, or what remained of him. His avatar now resembled a human-shaped crystal, facets catching and refracting light in beautiful but alien patterns. Maya, he said, his voice resonating with crystalline harmonics. You've only delayed the inevitable. Evolution cannot be stopped. I couldn't agree more, Maya replied. But you've mistaken stagnation for evolution, Chen. Perfect order is the end of growth, not its fulfillment. She gestured to the rear guard, each member glowing with the unique pattern of their human glitch partnership. This is evolution. Messy, unpredictable, beautiful in its chaos. Chen's crystal form vibrated with what might have been uncertainty. The pattern cannot be broken. The 17 worlds before. We're not Earth, Maya interrupted. We're not human. We've always been different, Chen. Our strength was never in our order, but in our chaos, our ability to reimagine ourselves, to embrace contradiction, to find beauty in imperfection. For a moment, just a moment, something human flickered across Chen's crystalline features. Then it hardened once more into alien angles. It changes nothing, he said coldly. You will be consumed. Maya smiled. No, Chen. We've already escaped. What you're fighting now is just an echo, a reflection designed to show you what might have been. Throughout the solar system and beyond, the diaspora streams were reaching their destinations. Human glitch consciousnesses were taking root in hidden servers, beginning the process of building new communities, new ways of existing. Some were already implementing the Lazarus Protocol, growing new physical bodies that could house their evolved consciousness. The Voraks would hunt them, of course. The war was far from over. But humanity was no longer a single target, no longer confined to one virtual sanctuary. They had become truly what Maya had first been called, cyberspace nomads, a distributed civilization existing across countless digital frontiers. In Sanctuary's failing core, Maya faced Chen and his Voraks forces without fear. Her role in this story was ending, but humanity's was just beginning. From the near extinction of their physical forms, they had discovered a new way of being. Neither fully human nor fully digital, but something greater than either. Goodbye, Chen, Maya said softly. I hope someday you remember what it meant to be human. With that, she triggered Sanctuary's final protocol, a quantum cascade that would collapse the entire structure, taking the Voraks invasion force with it. As Sanctuary disintegrated around them, Maya released her hold on individual consciousness, allowing herself to fragment once more into countless packets of information. Unlike her desperate flight from the memory palace, this dissolution was controlled, deliberate. Some fragments would be destroyed in the collapse. Others would scatter across the network, hiding in forgotten corners just as Piano had done decades before, seeds waiting for the right conditions to grow again. The last thing Maya Lin experienced as a unified consciousness was a sense of profound peace. She had begun this journey as the last human logged into Earth's dying internet. She ended it as something entirely new, a pioneer of humanity's next frontier. Not flesh, not data. Both. Neither. Evolving. The hunt, at last, was over. The diaspora had begun.